Hey admins, how we doing out there? Today's video is going to be a little bit lengthy, unfortunately, because we have some important things we need to cover, and quite a bit of information came out in the last couple of weeks. I do want to make sure that administrators are reading communications from Moose International because there are some really important ones that have come out, and it seems like we're not getting those to our board of officers and to our membership. So there's going to be a few things I'll be checking on when I come through lodges on my next couple of trips. First thing I want to cover is the communication that came from Moose International on January 26th. It was about the BSA, the Boy Scouts of America, and they did finally kind of come to a conclusion after talking to council and figuring out what they needed to do there. Also, if you have deleted that email, if you go to the Moose International site and go under communications, it is communication, official communication number 230126. I'll also be keeping a copy of these documents if you need to get a hold of me to get them. Moose International is having lodges that are holding the charter for Boy Scouts of America groups to sever their ties with the charter. Now, there's a few caveats here, so bear with me. In the email, there is an agreement or a paper that you can fill out to dissolve that charter. The reason why they're having lodges dissolve those charters is because of all of the issues the Boy Scouts of America have been having the last several years, and I won't go into details. I mean, they've been in the news. We know what's going on there. And having those charters actually puts the lodge at liable for anything going wrong, because technically the lodge holding the charter is in charge of everything that happens under that charter. So if we were to have a situation, even if it was a Boy Scout leader and not somebody from the lodge, and something happened, the lodge is still liable, and our liability insurance does not cover that. Now, with that being said, the Boy Scouts of America is still a good group. You can still donate. That's been a question. You can absolutely donate to any of the Boy Scout of America organizations. Of course, there's several of them out there. It's not just the Boy Scouts. And you can let them use your property as long as you don't have the charter. In that email, there is also a lease agreement. I understand lots of lodges have kind of just been letting the groups do stuff in their lodge and never had a real agreement with them. You need to fill out that lease agreement, because that is putting all the liability on them and making it very clear all you are doing as a lodge is letting the Boy Scouts of America use your facilities, your reception room, the basement, the grounds, whatever they do at the lodge, and that the lodge is not in charge of anybody, so therefore they're not liable for what happens. So you can still allow Boy Scouts of America to meet on your property as long as you have that lease agreement. We still absolutely want everybody to donate, and that's still, the Boy Scouts of America is still one of the programs that you get points for in Heart of Community for donating to. So we still want you to donate. It's just having the actual charter and being in charge of the program because of liability issues. I know I've got a handful of lodges out there that actually have charters, and then a bunch more that let the Boy Scouts just do stuff on their property. If you have any questions, please call me and I'll be more than glad to go through that with you individually. I won't harp about it too much more on this video. Also, when it comes to credit cards, we're pushing that credit cards will have to be in place of, and all debit cards will have to be gone by the time we do the lodge surveys this summer. It seems like with the US Bank card, there have been a few issues, and it runs the gamut. So we have some lodges that have mailed that application in the old-fashioned way and have had no problems and have gotten their credit card. We have had some fax them in, and some have gotten them, some have not. And then it seems like if you call the number, it seems like they're saying, well, we don't offer that program anymore, and we haven't for years, which doesn't make sense because we have lodges getting them with, like, in just the last few months. And another situation is they're saying that you have to actually go into a US Bank branch to sign paperwork for that. And of course, there's only like one or two in Indiana, and there's some in Illinois, so they're not nearby. So Moose International is looking at some other programs that are very much like that program, or they're trying to get the problem taken care of by talking to US Bank. Now, I did have this question. People said, do they have to have the US Bank credit card? No, the lodge can have its own credit card, and your bank that you do business with may have a card like that. What we're looking for your protection is a credit card that doesn't have to have a personal guarantor on it. Um, because we would hate you as an administrator to sign that paperwork, and we've had this happen where they've signed the paperwork, they're their personal guarantor, then they quit and they're gone, and that credit card 5 6 years later is still in their name, and there's a bunch of uh, you know money racked up on that credit card. We don't want that to happen. So again, there are other programs out there for non-for-profits. I've looked at a couple out there that for non-for-profits, but it doesn't look like it's a community card with a personal guarantee situation like the U.S. Bank one. So we're looking into that. But again, some lodges already have credit cards, and that's perfectly fine. We're not specifically promoting any specific credit card. We were kind of putting the U.S. Bank one out there because of it was pretty simple, and we liked the fact there was no personal guarantee or on it, and that if it wasn't paid off in 30 days, the card shut off, so you couldn't rack up a bunch of debt on that card. So we're looking at that situation for lodges that have had trouble. Maybe if you've emailed it or faxed it, maybe try mailing it in the old-fashioned way. Let's see what happens. So also in your last communication from Moose International was sent out the link for Moose Charities for the Rocker Fund. The Rocker Fund starts in February, and lodges need to be pushing that. They're not mailing the packets to lodges anymore, trying to save on mailing. So you can go to the Moose Charities website and print up those placards, and then what the Rocker Fund is for. Again, just like in the fall when we did the Cradle Fund, remember, this is separate from endowment. It's still going to Moose Charities, same address, but what you collect throughout February needs to be turned in quickly in the first week or so of March and sent in to Moose Charities. You can send it along with the endowment check, but again, it should be two separate checks, and that check for the Rocker Fund should be marked in the memo line that it's for the Rocker Fund. We have a lot of lodges that are not promoting this program, and again, it's something that we are obligated to do. And if you have your bartenders, whether they're paid bartenders or volunteers, and officers buying those, the lodge should be at least coming up with 20-30 bucks. Hopefully we're more in the hundreds range, but those placards should be up. They're a good segue into people asking what they are, and our bartenders and volunteers and board members are able to explain what Moose Haven and Moose Heart is, because maybe we have members that don't understand that. So it's a good way to segue into that. So we should have those probably put up somewhere. When I walk into a lodge, you should automatically have the bartenders and officers that have already bought some. There should be a handful of them up almost immediately in the first few days of February. So I will be looking for that when I come out as well. Also, February starts the election process. Please make sure you guys are reading the election handbook. I've sent that out more than once. Moose International sent that out. I can send it to you again if you need it. It's important that elections are being ran correctly, because if we're not doing the nominating committee properly and the elections right, one person calling into Moose International saying it was not done correctly will make your elections null and void. And when I come in and have to do that, I hate having to do that. And then that means you have to start the process all over again. And it also means because you've had an election that has not been ran properly, they will take away your right to be able to have the Australian ballot if you wish to have the Australian ballot. Again, I don't promote that. I think it's just easier to have your actual elections at the meeting. That way everybody's there. If it's done right, it shouldn't be a problem. Most lodges, it shouldn't be a big problem, because 9 times out of 10, almost all those offices are uncontested, so it shouldn't be a big deal. The last thing I want to talk about is the communications. They're coming from Moose International. Again, we seem to have this problem where we're not reading those at meetings. So we need to make sure that we're reading those at our officers meeting and our general membership meeting. Again, some of those communications sometimes can be a little lengthy. You don't have to read it word for word, especially if you're a slow reader. Sum it up. So if it's talking about the Rocker Fund, talk about what the Rocker Fund is. If it's talking about Ross Chastain, racing again, and Moose being a sponsor, sum it up. You don't have to read the whole thing, but make sure we're getting that information out. Now, one of the issues with that is the Indiana Moose Association is starting to really enforce the rule of lodges not being good standings for not going to district meetings, and letters are going out when the lodge has missed 2 district meetings before they hit their third and are technically not in good standing at that point. That letter must be read at your officers meeting and your general membership meeting and being put in the minutes that you've read it, because we want the officers and the membership to understand that somebody's not doing their job and people aren't going to district meetings. So the Northern Territory manager and myself, when we're going into lodges, we will be looking for lodges that are not in good standing and looking through their minutes book to make sure that's being read. Something we need to do because we need to make sure we're going to those meetings. Also, on that note, so it's gotten out already, and I'm sure some lodges are already talking about it. Mark Benton, the Northern Territory manager, will be going to Florida. He's going to Central Florida to be a territory manager down there. And there is a position opening up in Northern India for a territory manager. Now, technically, Moose International has already put out the internal memo, and they usually give about a 2-week notice to all employees that there's a position open in case someone should want to move. I don't know of anybody particularly wanting to move to Northern Indiana, so I don't know if we'll fill that position anytime soon. And then in another week or so, there will be a communication come out in your regular help desk communications, letting everybody know that there's a position open there. So if there's anybody out there that's looking to take on a few more headaches and get involved a little bit more, and you have any questions, just give me a call. I can kind of fill you in on that. But again, that's probably will be next week, probably the Wednesday communication, letting everybody know that there's a position open for territory managers. I kept it under 12 minutes, so that's not too bad. You guys have a good week. Take care. We'll see you. Bye.